engines for yet another Under the Hood. Welcome along. Yes, it's our weekly series where we have a little look under the hood of what's happening in the wonderful world of HubSpot and the wonderful ecosystem that they bring us as a wonderful platform for sales, service and marketing. My name's Tony Eads, with you today. Gabe is also with me to the right. We'll see him in a second. And often joining us on episodes from our solutions team based in the Perth office, Western Australia, Michael Peach and Matthew Reed. But we're coming to you live from Sydney today. Welcome along, here we are, live. In the flesh.
Live, not dead, which is good. Yes, apologies, I'm a bit loud today. There's some street stuff going on outside, but
trees getting ripped out as we speak. It's like it's all happening.
Yeah, they knew we were going to start recording, and they thought, you know what, we're going to start right now doing this.
Right at the front of the office. But anyway, hopefully you can hear us clear and well, because we've got a great topic for you coming up today. I'm going to set the scene, and then Gabe's going to like tuck under the engine into the engine room, pull a few spark plugs out.
So if we're using the car analogy, you're putting the car on the thing that lifts it up.
That's right.
And then you're doing that, and then I'm going to go inside and actually do the mechanical.
I think that's the idea. Yeah. Happy with that?
Since I don't have any qualifications as a mechanic, but we'll see how it goes.
All right, yeah, that's right. Well, let's don't break anything or pull anything out. HubSpot would be pretty upset if you suddenly took them offline. So let's continue with what we're talking about today. Customer feedback, an important one. We're going to tackle ticketing and we're going to tackle surveys. So firstly, customer feedback surveys. Very, very important. We're often after customer satisfaction scores, or CSAT scores as they're often called. It tells you just how satisfied a customer is, and obviously if a customer isn't satisfied, where are they going to go? One click away from your competitor. So it's very, very important and a good topic that we're going to cover, and how HubSpot can help you measure how a customer feels. So you can tweak things and make sure that that experience is really on par with what their expectation is. But more importantly, why is it so important? Well, 48% of consumers expect a response to social media questions and complaints within 24 hours, according to Statista. 24 hours, that's pretty quick, isn't it? Like if you miss the boat, after that, 50% of your customers are going to go.
It's quite high expectations, honestly. I think they need to calm themselves down.
Well, the big question is why they're complaining in the first place. Like if we know that, we can probably get there before they get to social media. 52% of consumers who had a bad experience told their friends, family and colleagues about it on social media. So they're quite happy to brag about a bad experience. I wonder if they're that enticed to do about a good experience.
I can probably say that's not the case. You wish it was, though. You truly do.
Yeah, in fairness, so it should be, right? We should try and give accolades where they're due, as well as complaining about things when they don't go our way. And 9 out of 10 customers read reviews before buying a product. So this is why it's so important that we got all this, call it half of consumers are out there complaining about things that aren't working, sharing it openly with their friends and family and anybody else on social media. And yet, then 9 out of 10 of them are reading reviews of these people that are making them make a buying decision on whether they come with you before you've even had a chance to speak to them, which is pretty bad stuff. So keeping them happy, part of that is what we call Service Hub, and part of that is HubSpot Tickets, which helps kind of automate the process of inquiries and things that might be coming through. It's really to help your customers solve issues that they might have. If something's not working right, then someone needs to help and needs to do it pretty quickly. So HubSpot Tickets is a special tool that's set up in Service Hub we're going to have a look at today that really tracks customer issues regardless of whether they came in via any method. They could have come in from a phone call, an email, or even live chat. And it's important it goes into a system that can then actually spit out the results and send it to the right person that can solve that ticket issue for them. As you can see, it fits into this kind of bottom area. If you're new to HubSpot and the ecosystem, you've got obviously Marketing Hub and Sales Hub that kind of sit in that transition period to get us the customer in the first place. And then Service Hub plays an important role from customers to promoters to actually keep those customers happy, to keep them coming back for more. And I suppose more importantly, make them brand ambassadors, so they go and tell more people about their great experience rather than a poor experience that they might have had. So customers crave these authentic experiences. It's the world we live in where the customer really drives the experience that they have with you. Again, some stats to share with you. 88% of survey respondents that HubSpot did just recently agree that customers have higher expectations than they did in previous years, which is what Gabe was just saying, is that our customers today are expecting a lot more than they have in previous years. 79% of them are more informed than they were in the past. So we've often said that a lot of the buying decision is made before they even reach out and speak to you. So that's a big one, isn't it? That we've got to understand that they know.
Particularly with the younger generation, definitely.
Yeah.
Who are, up and coming with technology and savvy. I mean, not that we aren't in our, midlife to later life, but it is an expectation. I think as technology grows, that we have to align with that technology when it comes to customer experience.
Yeah, 100%. And finally, there are 43 and 51% of agent-level respondents, people dealing with these customers in high growth and low growth companies, are both saying that they're having not enough time in their day. Is their biggest day-to-day challenge. So, time is an essence. So I think this ticketing system we're going to cover for you is actually going to buy you back time, so you can actually look after more customers and be more efficient. And of course that brings in the word of automation, because we live in this great world where if we can automate some of the stuff that we do, especially around customer service, it means we can focus on more important things, maybe those bigger problems that you really need to get your hands involved in, and some of the smaller ones that people may have lost their password or they're frustrated with something can simply be sorted out through an automated system. You can set up triggers that create a deal, that create a ticket, that enroll customers into nurture sequences, all based on tickets. So there's all this back end, if you like, workflows and automation that fits not just around the ticket itself, but how you solve for the customer in the future. So tickets and surveys is our subject, and Gabe is going to tuck under the engine now. I've put it up on the hoist, so it's now ready for you to kind of lift the lid and have a poke around.
And it's a good looking vehicle, I must say. This HubSpot thing that you've got hoisted up there. Honestly, it's looking pretty schmick. Don't know if I need to do much work, but I can take you into it and give you some case study examples of stuff that we've done in there. And there's what I actually want to bring up with you today. Again, it's another client of ours that deals in SaaS-based solutions. And SaaS-based, to all the things we're talking about just earlier, are one of those key things that people expect a lot more out of these days in terms of a good customer experience, as well as the molding and shaping and bespokeness that you should have with a SaaS-based platform like HubSpot that ties in with your needs as either an individual or organization.
And so that's a good point, because what you're talking about in a way is onboarding, right? If it's a SaaS base, it's not just buying the customer, but then once the customer's on board, you're not just selling them a physical product. You've now got to onboard them and get them enrolled in the product itself.
And you took the words right out of my mouth, and it's not even just from their customer experience, but every single experience you've had up to the point of them becoming a customer is really key. So I think this is a really good example here. It's one of our favorite clients, Found You. They developed a SaaS-based platform based upon recruitment and onboarding and all that kind of stuff, and it's a really quite ingenious platform. But essentially they were having problems when they first came to us, the challenge being that they have marketing, sales and service teams, but there was quite a misalignment within their processes, particularly with all the disparate different technology platforms that they had to make the whole experience work, from the moment they sent out an ad to acquiring a new lead, to converting that lead into a sale, and then from that sale making the onboarding process nice and smooth. So they wanted HubSpot to come in and sort of replace the whole entire experience, not just the customer experience at the end, but everyone that led up to that moment. So they came to us and they wanted to also from that extrapolate metrics and stuff that was useful for them as a team to review and refine their processes better over time. So our approach for Found You, I should say, was to map out a full buyer journey experience to begin with. So everything from the moment they entered in your funnel stage, to the moment they entered in the pipeline, to the moment that they were sold to, and then were onboarded after that point. We fully mapped out each of those individual processes, so everything marketing, sales, and service. And then also talked about ongoing training for those individual teams as well, that once we got things set up for them, we were able to get them to know how to use the tools and basically enable them to make us irrelevant and have their own system work for them. So that's what we did, and the results were really, really good. There was a full team alignment on HubSpot within 6 to 12 months, I believe the whole process took, because it was quite a complex and rigorous process. In particular, the final stage of when the deal was sold to the moment that they went into ticketing, and then the whole onboarding process and how that all fit in with the HubSpot architecture. But we got there in the end. We built them all the assets and tools and automation that they needed. And it was all powered by HubSpot ticketing, as well as coming from HubSpot workflow automations. So I'm going to take you a little bit into that and what that looks like. So I wanted to start off here where I was talking to before about when they came into the sales process. They have this whole stage, which is probably quite familiar to anyone in there who works in sales in terms of the deal stages they had in their pipeline. So you've got everything from the moment they enter in and they do a discovery on that particular lead, or opportunity, they probably call them in terms of HubSpot lifecycle stage. They do the discovery, they find out they're a good fit and that they're qualified, then they take them through a demo, the demo's completed and they're agreed to it, and they go through negotiation and sign off, and if they do sign off, they become closed won. If not, they become closed lost, or if for some reason in the process they were unqualified. You can see at the end there they have an unqualified section that if you drag and dropped a deal across there, it would ask you, oh, why were they unqualified, and you would just select that. But say for the best case use example, and for the sake of today's under the hood, they moved one of these deals into closed won. Then what happens is there is an automation in the background powered by HubSpot workflows. If you have a look at that here, as you can see, these are the sales to implementation handover workflows. Being that when that ticket is, when that deal is moved across, there is a ticket created, all powered by these workflows, and then it enters into, ta-da, the ticketing pipeline, which if you are paying attention, you'll notice it looks incredibly similar to that of the deal pipeline. And the reason being for that, because HubSpot are freaking geniuses at giving you a user experience that is seamless and very familiar each and every time. So that if you are, say, working in a role between deal sign off to then ticket being created and the whole onboarding process taking place, then you're not getting lost in that role and knowing exactly where to go. And it's even as simple as, like, if you have up here your ticketing marked accordingly, you can literally just go back to deals just by selecting deals, and it'll take you right back to where we were before on the previous page and looking at your deal and new pipeline. So it's a really quite ingenious, easy user experience which encapsulates all these different touch points within very familiar systems and setups. So that's one of the reasons why I think HubSpot is great, is that if the way that the platform is set up makes the most sense for the end user to use, they're more likely to use it more, and therefore them as a platform are looked at being more valuable and having a better investment in over time, a long-term investment. A lot of the times people set up with ticketing systems through third-party systems that tie into HubSpot and whatnot, and the reasons why they do that and are so not keen to move out of that is because they're habituated, they're used to using those systems. And a lot of the time someone like us, like Solderstone, will come in and do that review like we did for Found You, and find that, hey, you can actually do all of this within your sales and service hub. Have all your automations connected in the one place. And as we've harped on before, it's great because, as you know, HubSpot is powered by the CRM, and the CRM would show under each contact and each company record all the deals and all the tickets associated to them. So at the end of the day, you have them all in one place, and you're actually probably saving a fair bit of money and time. Probably time being the most relevant thing here, that what we're trying to save. So ticketing, as you can see here, they've got their tickets set up from the moment that that deal is closed won. You've got the pre-kickoff call that happens from the onboarding process, and then everything happens. They have quite a few stages, as you can see, not an exorbitant amount, but they've got this implementation pipeline, and also several other pipelines for occurrences where other ticketing is necessary for things like terminations and contract renewals, all that kind of stuff. But for the sake of this example, we're just looking at the implementation pipeline because it's most relevant to getting things underway, quick and simple, all tied in from the previous pipeline that we saw from when they were sold as closed won. And then it's actually the ticket itself, if you have a look here, opens up and you can see exactly who the ticket owner is. So we know exactly who has to carry forward this ticket and then take it down the ticketing pipeline. So Sam, in this case, would need to own this ticket and follow the process of completing all the steps necessary to making this particular contact signed off as complete on their implementation onboarding process. And then that would mean that they would have to drag and drop them all the way across these different stages until, I'm not going to move it just for the sake of not messing with their system, to the moment that they're closed and basically ready for CS handover and go live on their SaaS-based system. There's obviously other indications here, like you see closed loss and all that, similar to like the sales pipeline, where a lot of the time the onboarding process just doesn't go, according to plan, or for some reason, there's a change in the need, or change in the setup, or whatever it might be for this particular contact. It doesn't always mean a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you've lost the contact entirely. But at the end of the day, it's good to have as a placeholder there. So in case there is a need to rejig on the sale made or whatnot, putting them into closed loss then triggers off another workflow to say, hey, contact owner originally of the deal, follow up on this person, see the reasons behind closed lost. You'll have them all in your CRM system anyway, so you'll be able to, the salesperson can come back on that and say, why was this ticketing deal not brought across as go live? Like, what was the issue? There's no ambiguity there. We've removed all that so that they get a notification. They know where to go into in the CRM and actually look at the reasons why, and therefore time saved, and then they know what their next action point is. So good examples there for FoundYou, and bravo on them for committing to all those months of work, but at the end of the day that we got to a really good, nice free-flowing system. What comes off the back of this, once implementation, onboarding, and all that is done, another thing to talk about is that, all right, well, how do we make these customers who are now happy and ready and set up into evangelists, as HubSpot calls it, the lifecycle stage, or promoters for the business, however you want to word it. Essentially, HubSpot now has these features in place underneath. If you look at service and look at your feedback and surveys place, you can see that they have an abundance of different kinds of survey tools that you can then harness within your workflow and automations to kick off the back of, say, someone's completed their onboarding process. Send them a survey that says, hey, how was the process? Rate us 1 to 5, or something simple like that. You can obviously look at more complex one down the road, but for sake of this example here, it's just as simple as like having that go live process kick in, workflow then kicks out, and it comes directly from the person we're just dealing with saying, hey, thanks so much for sticking with us through the onboarding process. I hope it was a success. Rate the experience and let us know if you have any feedback. So I think this is a topic definitely for another day that we go more in depth into the survey tool, because as you can see, there's lots of different ones. There's CSAT, there's NPS, there's custom surveys, which are really cool to look at, but it is quite an extensive part of the HubSpot Service Hub. So I just wanted to touch on it briefly today because we did promise we would, but I think it is a topic for another day where we're going to go into a lot more depth and bring up some use case examples that will shine a light on the different ways you can use surveys. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. I might kick things back to Mr. AEST. Do you have any questions, or is there anything you want to raise from what we looked at today?
Probably just a question about automation, because obviously you showed us a lot there about how the tickets can move from one thing to another, but in terms of how easy is it to automate the process?
Yeah, it's quite simple, honestly. You can have, say, on a deal record, literally a checkbox. If you're a sales rep and you go, oh yes, they've signed a proposal, checkbox, then it can literally have an automation in place that moves them to closed one, or checkbox no, moves them to closed lost.
Yep.
So there's those automations that are so simple in theory, which are actually really quite possible these days, and a lot of people overlook them because they feel like they need to. A lot of people want to have ownership of deals and ownerships of tickets and whatnot. But at the end of the day, there's ways that just removes that time spent from you doing that tedious stuff and lets you focus in on what's most important, which is the customer.
And I assume that the ticketing also has a time limit, right? So if tickets come in and there's something I actually need to deal with, rather than the process you've gone through, but someone's just inquired about something, it could be a new product inquiry, and I send a ticket to yourself, but I'm not aware that actually you're away or whatever. Does that ticket bounce back to me, or is there a certain time frame we can put on it so that we don't just lose that ticket until you come back off your extended holiday?
God, I love one of those. No, look, both those scenarios are possible. Yeah, to those examples, if someone's away and there is like a notification sent to someone to follow up on, say, a deal was won to then being into the onboarding process, there is a system in place. There's actually this really cool way you can do about it with a round robin feature, whereby it actually sets it to like the team leads. So it might set it to a couple of the team leads within like the customer service team, and they'll get that notification, and they can either manually or automatically, depending on people's capacity, assign the actual ticket to someone within their team. So there's a little bit of a stopgap there that can help avoid that potential, like someone's away, oh, but they were assigned this ticket, so now it's delayed. There is a system in place that can help with that. And then there's also your other mention of ticketing, where you said if, for example, it stays in one stage for a certain amount of time, and that's often quite a concern. People might just overlook it as like, maybe after 7 days, it's imperative that it moves from one ticket stage to the next. You have a automation in place that notifies the team lead, and maybe as well the individual who is the ticket owner, obviously, but definitely the team lead, so that they can see, oh, Sam in my team hasn't addressed this in 7 days. What's the go there? I can jump on it, or I can question and ask. Keep on top of those things. Simple things aren't that hard to set up. It's just a matter of like, what's the best use case and what works for you in terms of your team and your organization overall.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And I suppose with anything that we've covered in these episodes, all of this stuff goes into the database, right? So then we can pull up some fantastic reports about how our customer experience is going well and not going well, because you can build dashboards off the back of all of this, can you?
Yeah, 100%, and we did that. We didn't cover off the reporting for Fungi, but we definitely did that, and those are extensive, those reports. Actually, it might be worth a whole other session just looking at those, because they are extensive, and they have ones for individual teams, and also for like management. So management have got their own more high-level one that doesn't go into too much in the nitty-gritty, because they don't need to see all of that. But they definitely want to say, like, to your example, see how team performance is. Who's getting the most tickets, and who's closing off the most tickets, and who's getting into HubSpot the most and actually actioning those tickets, and who's slacking off. And that kind of helps understand from a management perspective how they can improve the process and understand what the issue is. It might not be that the person is lazy, but maybe they're just like inexperienced or needed more enablement, more training on the process. That could be. But
it gives you the intel, right, to be able to deal with it. Like, that's the whole point, because we saw those stats at the very beginning of this episode. It's critical that customer experience is paramount, right? And if you're not, just tweaking these things and really just going really into the depth of how can we make that experience perfect for our customers at all times, then you're really putting yourself open to losing those customers. At least 1 in 2 that we saw before that are just going to go somewhere else at the click of a mouse.
Yeah. Look, there's no greater value in your customer. A lot of people overlook that whole delight experience a lot, which HubSpot puts in that, make them promoters, and I think we need to emphasize that more these days. No matter what, if you're B2B, B2C, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, your customers are your lifeblood, and often the most that we see out of our customers in getting new recurring revenue is from their current customer database. That's where the goal is, because they've already invested in you as a brand and as a solution for their needs. So why not breathe lifeblood into that, give them further value so that they feel valued, and then when it comes to renewing their contract or selling to them again, upselling them, it's just an easier process overall.
Yeah, 100%. Well, if something's triggered off in your mind there, how you could better look after your customers, please reach out to us. We'd love to show you how Service Hub, particularly as part of the HubSpot ecosystem, can help you just automate ticketing, understand where your customers are, and better service them so you don't lose them to the competitors. Give us a shout. Well, that was it. Thanks, Gabe, for taking us under the hood. We'll bring the hoist back down again now, because we're going to need to raise it again in the next episode, because we did tickets and surveys, of course, was today's subject. Next time, the next episode of Under the Hood, it's custom objects and sandboxes. So it sounds like we're going to have a bit of a play around, get our toys in and get in a sandbox.
Oh, I can't wait. I haven't been in one of those since I was a toddler.
Look forward to seeing you next time on Under the Hood.
See you guys.